Alright, welcome to my second try this week's video for the Nightmare Catcher of Fafnir. Welcome to the channel, welcome to Terra. My name is Terra. Wow, radio opening. We are going to be going through the Nightmare Catcher today. We're going to be looking, or I'm going to be making a guide for everyone out there. So you can put up, not quite these scores, but pretty good scores, and maybe get the joy medals along the way with the meta jewels that lie before it. So if you're struggling, this guide is for you. This is a very simple guide. I'm trying to be free to play friendly, and it won't be like this number, but it's going to be a respectable number. This is mostly tutorial as well to really see what's important for Nightmare Catchers. So in the future, I can refer back to this video and say, hey, this is where I covered it. So this is our start. We're going to be starting with Fafnir. And first things first, you have to read. I am so sorry. Now, the intel here is nice and all, but all of this doesn't matter. All of this just says, hey, Sumi is the best for this week's boss. No. What we want to see is the mechanic of the boss fight. We want to look at Fafnir, and obviously we want to look at his Fafnir's curse, which can be removed with buffing, healing, and defense skills. It's a little bit more nuanced than that, but what's important is Curse's Remnant. Decreases defense by 12% and stacks up to 3 times. It's 36% defense down. That's very important. And what we are going to be doing, I'm going to be showcasing the team, then showcasing why this team and how you're going to reach the numbers that you have to reach. And then we'll be having a... I'll be showcasing alternatives. If you only want to see the fight, you can skip ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But without further ado, we're going to be looking at the team. Fairly standard Sumi team. We're going to be going in team order. First up, Wonder. We're going to be using 3 defense down personas. We're going to be using Yan Shou at the very front. Agility Master 3, so Wonder is faster than everybody else, though he can also be the second spot. Doesn't really matter. What's important is that he's not third with Rakunda. Does it matter that it's Neon Shell doing this? No. No, it's not. Any Rakunda persona will do. We're going to be using Vishnu with Goodwill to all. Maxed out. This is very important for the 48% defense down. This will always work out. Wind of Nirvana has a 100% chance of proccing. Basically, so we're always going to be going for Goodwill to all to reduce defense even more. Lastly, we're going to be using Janoschik, and I'm going to be exchanging one of his skills because I realize he has the wrong skills on. His skills are Rebellion and Rakunda. You can also use, instead of Rakunda, since we're already using that, Tarokaja. Is it a big increase? No. No, absolutely not. But Rebellion and Tarokaja are more important to you. Next up, we're going to be using the Arc Knife. If you use another defense downer instead of Tempest Rico, you can use Glimmer as well. I just like Arc Knife here. Arc Knife reduces defense by 36% at best, and we require that defense down. Next up, we have Tempest Rico, A1. This is the only awareness that is required. If you do not have A1, you can use someone else. Or just use her. Whenever I use skill 1, you use skill 2. It's not that important. If you don't have A1, just use a replacement. But it's kind of... If you don't have A1, it's not worth using her, so use somebody else. A1 twins or Minami for pierce rate can be very good. A1 Minamin. Or a Vino, an additional debuff for a Leon, or Soy for more defense down. A lot of alternatives. You can also, again, I think the best alternative would be the twins, but if you don't have those A1, that's also quite a struggle. Weapon doesn't matter, only the awareness one. And she is on Worry and Creation, the only real set for her, with enough SP recovery once she's in fight. Next up, Court. Basically mandatory if you use Sumi. Awarenesses don't matter, A1 doesn't matter, A2 doesn't matter. It's obviously a damage increase, same with the weapon, but for the operation we're gonna be doing, it doesn't really matter. She's using Reconciliation with Creation, and it's very important that she is third. She has to be third with Sumi fourth. This is just the best because then you can apply the buffs and debuffs before you have the Catchy Hook activate. So this is just important. Last but certainly not least, we have Sumi. Sumi and Cord are kind of a duo. Cord isn't really replaceable if you use Sumi. If you really wanted to, you can use the same as what I recommended with Rico. You can replace Sumi with somebody, say, like Frostscale Katana, because the boss is not weak to or doesn't resist wind. But Sumi, yeah, A6 doesn't really matter. It's just one additional highlight. Her A1 doesn't matter in this case. Her A2 doesn't really matter in this case. Her A4 really doesn't matter. And her A6 is obviously just one more highlight. It's more damage. But if you don't have it, don't sweat it. And she's on Wisdom and Virtue. Last, we have Futaba. Weapon, doesn't matter. A1 is nice for the crit rate, but also doesn't really matter. And she's on Labor and Resolve. Now that we've covered the team, I want to talk about what makes Nightmare Catcher so intricate and what you should do to really elevate your damage and what you should do. Reason being, buffing only gets you so far. As I've said, I've mentioned 3 separate defense debuffer as personas. Futaba is defense down and Arcanine is defense down. That is very important because, and first you had to do reading to do good. Now, I am so sorry, you have to do math. I've already entered the numbers here. This is the defense reduction calculator on Lufel. It's a very good tool. This is the tool that I use. And over here you have Sea of Souls if you're fighting a Sea of Souls boss, or Nightmare Catcher realm, where you can go through. We're fighting Fafnir. I've already entered the numbers to explain them. Here is we'll be going through the numbers again together, just to enter it. For example, if you, depending on the pierce rate, I have 8.7% pierce rate. My stat buff is 3.2. Where you find them is on the stats page. You can see them immediately. Here's the pierce rate. She actually has a little bit less. I forgot I changed my revelations. Good that I checked. And if you want to see how much pierce rate your Navi gives, click on the Ulicata button and scroll all the way down, and here you see the pierce rate. Pierce rate is very important, so that's why we need to think about this. 7.3. Now to change scene again. 7.3. There we go. So in total, we already have 10.5% pierce rate. Pierce rate is a linear scaling, ignoring of enemy defense. Defense is more exponential. Let's put it that way. So we're ignoring 10% defense. That's nice, but that's nowhere near enough. As we know from earlier, Fafnir loses 36% of his defense. And Windswept, and we're going to be selecting Fafnir again. Windswept is basically guaranteed. And then you go through which characters you use, what you're using. I usually do this before I build the team, but in this case, I've already built the team, so I just need to enter the numbers. Obviously, we're using Labor and Resolve for Futaba. We're using Rakunda, we're using Vishnu, and we're using Janoschik. I tried Thraosha, but unfortunately, his defense down falls a little bit short. If you replace somebody, if you replace, say, Wind with someone that reduces defense more, you can use Thraosha in your third slot, and instead of when I use Janoschik, you can use Thraosha. Then we have Arc Knife. And lastly, we have Oracle. In my case, I have maxed out skill at Mindscape 5. And since we're hitting a weakness, we can go with the weakness. And that brings us very low. The important part is that this number gets to 0. I've purposely left this at 3 stacks to showcase Steve's 6% defense that you're missing. If you get 4 stacks, this is 0. And we're jumping from 260% final damage increase to 280 final damage increase. This increase is really, really, really big. So you can see what this 1 stack does. We should be getting all the stacks we need, but I'm quite unlucky sometimes, so we'll see. Last but not least, we also want to think about the crit rate, but we're thinking about the crit rate once we're in the fight, because a lot of moving pieces happen. So I'll be going into the fight, and then once we're at the point where I feel like explaining the crit rate, I'm going to explain it. So this is now where the fight starts, and wish me luck. Alright, very fast start, don't blink, Fafnir's Curse. Very quick start. Now, how do we want to kill this guy? Very quickly, in my case, but if you kill him turn 2, turn 3, turn 5, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that Sumi gets the final blow on his death. We are going to be starting with Wind of Nirvana. This is just for the defense down, to make killing him easier. We're going to be using Blossoming Season on Sumi. Then we're going to be using Distortion. We're hoping for the Shock, that's nice. We're hoping for Shock turn 2 though. Turn 2 is very important. But then we're using Invitation on the second person that acts. If Wonder is your second person to act, use it on Wonder. In my case it's Tempest Rico, so I use it on Tempest Rico. We don't want to highlight not until this guy is already dead. So next, now we are going to Rakunda. We're gonna be using Storm of Petals. This will also now hit with Sumi, and this is where a lot of runs can differentiate. If your Sumi gets him that low, just like me, you can kill him this turn. If they don't, if you can spare another turn, use 3 turns just to be safe. In this case, we actually can't hope for another Shock, because we want to re-up the Unison nodes. If you have A1, this already happened, but if you don't, you would re-up them here regardless. Reason being is we want them to last for the entirety of the fight, and that is how we're going to be achieving that. Now we're gonna be using skill 1 and just absolutely murking him. And this turn is now where I want to showcase, obviously use Pentas Complete also. This is where I want to showcase the second most important thing about Nightmare Catcher, which is crit rate. Sumi has 85% crit rate with 311 crit multi, which equals to 181 final damage increase. We are going to check that number again after we highlight with Rico. So remember, 171. Highlight Rico on Sumi, obviously. Then Wind of Nirvana to re-up the defense down. Since we did get the shock, we have 4 Power of Creation stacks, so we have maximum stacks. And Blossoming Season here. Now, she attacks. But now we also check. We want to check her again. Now she has 102 crit rate with 400 crit mode. So remember that 171? 306. So how this works is obviously with the critical stability. The closer your crit rate gets to 100%, the better your crit mode translates. So you want to focus on crit rate first, then crit mode second. For somebody like Sumi, this is already overkill. Once she activates Masquerade mode, we're like 10 billion over. I'll show that once the next turn starts. We're going to be using Distortion again. We do not want to activate Masquerade mode yet, but since she has all the stacks, if you have A1, you can now skill 1 to get all the stacks. If you don't have A1, or rather, if you don't have A1, just skill 1 here, then you have all the stacks. If you do have A1, you can skill 3 here for a little bit of extra damage, but it's really not that important. Then, now, we're going to be using Data Link Established. And we're going to activate Masquerade mode now. We're not going to highlight, but we want the extra attack, because now, as you can see, she's at 15k attack. We want to use that extra attack for the Resonance hit, but now she has 118 crit rate over 421. So, yeah. Here, you can use Rebellion if you don't have 100% crit rate. As I said, I do. I'm going to be using Terrakaja. Also, just to showcase, the Terrakaja is really not that important because she barely gained 1000 attack from that. It's not really worth its diminishing returns. Now we want to Storm of Petals. Now, all the fruits of her labor have borne fruit. She has all the crit rate she could ever want. And he has every disease under the sun. As you can see here, Mark, Cursed Revenant, Raccoonda here. Pent is complete. Obviously, this number is doubled because he's taking weakness damage. Resolve and Labor, Goodwill to All, and Power of Creation. So, now we chord highlight. And now what I like to do is highlight twice with Sumi. 1, 2, and number 3. And obviously, since this is the last action, you want to Midnight Magic regardless. And that's it for the fight. Fun fact, the number you saw at the start of the video, the 375 million, this was set just before this recording. The only difference of this 21 million here is that 1 stack of Arc Knife. So, if you take 1 lesson, please, please, please reduce defense to 0. That is the biggest tutorial I can give you, and the crit rate, increase it as far as you can. That's it for the fight. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the team, but if you're not interested in that, if you're only here for the guides and for the fight, then thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, hopefully next week. Bye bye. Alright, really quick section at the end of the video. This is just talking about alternatives that you can use, and a little bit of a team retrospective. Obviously, as you've seen in the fight, Sumi has way too much crit rate, and 36 is already overkill. 30 is enough, probably, depending on who you have. all these, obviously, Rico is a great crit buffer. If you want to use someone else, use the twins, or really Minamin or Vino, Soy or Leon, also great. But the biggest problem is that she requires her first awareness, as I've mentioned. But as you've seen in the fight, whenever I use skill 1, you can use skill 2 with her, and you're somewhat fine, but it's lacking quite a lot. Next up, we have Cord. Not really replaceable, but great A1, great A2. Cord is just a great unit all around. And obviously her A1 also buffs crit, same with A1 Futaba and same with A1 Sumi. So orient yourself after which kind of crit rate increases you have. As I've mentioned, you can also use Rebellion with Janoschik instead of Tarokaja at the very end because, well, I didn't need to. I already had all the crit rate in the world. And then lastly, I want to give alternatives for DPS. As Fafnir is not weak to, or not resistant to wind, I would recommend Frostgale Katone. You can use really either form. I believe he's also not resistant to frost. But Sumi is obviously the best. I wouldn't recommend either Yui or Kira, because both elements are resisted. And that's it already for DPS. So the only other real replacement for Rico, as I mentioned, is the twins. Same for Cord. And if you use Frost Scale, you can replace Cord with really anybody, or you can stay with Cord. Both is fine. If you choose to replace Rico for whatever reason, you can also use Glimmer here. And if you don't have a high enough Arc Knife, Glimmer always works. Starry Compass also works, even though it's a little bit lower. So you need to make up for that. But that's it for the team, for the discussion. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll try to post them at least somewhat regularly on the weekends. And next week maybe we have a Sea of Souls content as well. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.